I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land we're having this conference on today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to Elders past and present. Look, I think there's lots of people in the audience that are going to have a whole stack of really good ideas of the collaboration that you're doing with stakeholders. So I'm not for a moment thinking that what we're doing at Legal Aid is anything terribly creative or bold. I mean, I personally think that there's terrific ideas going on, but I also am absolutely mindful because I know of really good examples that are going on in the audience. So the whole trick to this is to talk fast so that you can, in fact, get your examples out. Just a really quick snapshot about Legal Aid is that, you know, Legal Aid helps people in communities to understand and protect their legal rights, and it does this through that series of, you know, advice, advocacy, education, and it's focused on the most disadvantaged in the community. And just a really quick little snapshot about Legal Aid itself. It's about 30 years old now. We have 910 staff, 400 of them also work in regional offices, and we've got 440 lawyers, and we have about 45 Aboriginal staff now, and we have 65 accredited specialists across the state. So it's probably one of, if not, well, I'll just say it's one of the largest law firms in the country. And you know, we get our funding from Commonwealth, from the state, from our public purpose fund in New South Wales, and very slim pickings from our client contributions. And the other part to Legal Aid is, which is an area that's of real interest to me, is that about 80 million of our 205 million or so all up is spent on payments to private practitioners that do grants of legal aid for us. So in some ways I see them, and particularly, you know, taking up the language of John Alford this morning, I see them as sort of obligatees or you know, regulatees, the private practitioners as well. So, you know, on a broad definition of client-centric thinking, for the grant staff, for example, the private practitioner is really their client. The law reform part to Legal Aid is fundamental, and we've just done a big bail submission to the State Attorney earlier this week. So it's that kind of stuff fed in by a whole stack of staff and contributed by our knowledge of our client base that we've done I'd like to think a terrific submission to the State Attorney. In terms of our programs, that's what it is: crime, family, civil, and the area that I'm particularly wanting to focus on is community partnerships. There's lots of alternative dispute resolution, lots of early intervention work that goes on, restorative justice work, forum sentencing, drug courts. When a matter gets to court, to me, it's kind of as good as over and we've kind of lost it. And that's something that I know Neil will take up and explore in a lot more detail. Part of our Legal Aid plan is linking up services. So we've got 4 priorities as such. I won't bore you with the priorities that we've got, but that's our, you know, modern language for corporate plan. But the big one that I'm keen on is linking up services, which is all about sharing information and creating opportunities for collaboration across a full range of legal aid services. And it's also working with other agencies, particularly health and human service agencies. So we're big on that holistic practice, and that's what our clients tell us. They don't want, you know, to have to shop around and go to 20 different service providers. So if we can do as much of that one-stop shop thinking, and it's a theme we've obviously heard a lot of in the last couple of days, then that's what people want us to do. That's just a little bit about where all our regional offices are. And, you know, out of the 3,000 or so outreach services, we've got 98 locations. So apart from that, we do a whole stack of outreach work, which again is demand driven because that's what our clients say. It's too far for them to get to regional offices, so we do all of this outreach work as well. They're the community partnerships that I thought I'd really briefly talk about, and I know time's ticking, but lots of those community partnerships have loads of consultation with clients, and that's the theme that I really want to get across. So even if I don't spell out each one of them, particularly things like the community legal centres, they're champions on having, even on their management committee, things like clients, or sorry, I don't mean things like clients, but they have a whole range of people that represent their region, and clients are certainly a big part of management committees on community legal centres. The Women's Domestic Violence Court Advocacy Network, I know, has a network of people that have gone through the court process themselves. I won't sort of tell you what community legal centres are, I suspect all of you know, but the real trick of it is that they do lots of strategic planning, and they do involve lots of their community bases. The Children's Court Assistance Scheme is again about providing information and referral to welfare services. Absolutely client focused. I mean, that's why we've got it, and it's I think half the time it's a more meaningful service than a lot of the legal advocacy that can go on. That serves a fundamental purpose as well, of course. The Women's Domestic Violence Court Advocacy Program is a program that I'll not worry about that slide, but it's a program where assisting women obtain, or children obtain, protection through an apprehended domestic violence order. It's all about accessing services, of the social welfare type services, and we're currently in 108 courts across the state, so huge spread. A couple of really interesting arrangements. One is the Regional Outreach Clinic program, where we can't be everywhere, so we've got 13 or so private solicitors, mainly in areas that are, where there's large Aboriginal populations, and it's a type of service that again is very centred on the place, as was referred to this morning. So it's a service that Professor Don Keddy talked about, the importance of place, and that's exactly what that program is about. And look, for those of us that were at the session this morning with, on improving Indigenous access, what works, it was a magnificent session because it was just so refreshing to sort of hear lots of programs that work. And the principal of the Cairns West School, Michael Hansen, talked all about the stuff that really transposes very nicely into our Regional Outreach Clinic program, but I'll hopefully be able to address that in question time perhaps. One of the big areas that Legal Aid does is community legal education, and it is absolutely community driven. So, you get a great bang for your buck. That's what people want, and in some ways it's part of our statutory obligation, but it's all about really providing information to the public, and it's driven by public sort of demand and they're, in many ways, with respect, their lack of understanding of the legal system. But we also do things like law for community workers, and we engage lots of, and if we want to call them citizens we can, but I call them clients, in co-producing outcomes. So, for domestic violence matters, we've got videos made by people that have been experiencing the court process and why they felt that it was absolute nightmare. Just one other really quick example of what else we're doing outside of sort of the legal aid programs is this group called the Legal Assistance Forum, New South Wales Legal Assistance Forum. And it's made up of key legal service providers that have all got an interest in providing services to disadvantage. And it's got this ability, because most of them are DGs or section heads, and it emphasis on sort of working cooperatively and collaboratively in the development and delivery of legal services. And that's just a list of who makes up the New South Wales Legal Assistance Forum. But it is all about, and we heard it again over the last little while, about new leadership discussions, the need to reach out. One of the reasons it really works is that you've got very senior people around the table, and we can make a big difference hearing what our clients say. They all get together and we can do some, I think, terrific advocacy work. I won't read the objectives, but I think you get a feel of sort of where this New South Wales Legal Assistance Forum's coming. There is a broader ALAF, Australian Legal Assistance Forum. With respect to that, I think that some of the local ones work best. You can go too far, and in its broad sense, but it really is working magnificently, NLAF. And just one example, drilling in through the NLAF group of the various working groups. And, again, we've heard lots of importance around citizen involvement. I'm chairing the Prisoners Forum, and, for example, we have had a prison information portal that was driven by the needs of prisoners, and it was an initiative from that prison forum. There's just one other really brief, and I'm going, still a couple of minutes to go? 2 minutes to go. I just want to also say that Legal Aid, and I'll leave that there for Neil, the Legal Aid's just finished a client satisfaction survey, and I won't sort of glow on the terms, but in June of 2011 we consulted 500 clients or so. But I really like the example yesterday, user-friendly 8 to 10 immigrants, that, you still get a feel. It's not methodologically sound, but you still get a feel, and really you can interview 500 or you can interview 8 and 10 and you've got 90% of what they're really telling you. That's my sort of gut feel. But Taverner Research did some terrific work for us around client perspectives, and I thought that, something like 93% of the sample was satisfied. There was an overall rating of 85%, but the stuff that I'm really interested in is where we don't get right. They said that advice appointments being scheduled too late to meet client time frames, and at times, there was 15% of them, and restrictions on services provided mainly due to service policy and who's eligible. So it's the things, it's those couple of things where causes for dissatisfaction that I'm really interested in client satisfaction surveys. Taking up an earlier point by Julia Harrickson, I think that it is great that the clients also get the feedback, and under the new GIPA legislation, in any event, it's all up there on our, well, not yet because we've just got the results, and we're still analysing, but it will be in the short term up on our internet, and something like 85% of clients that participated in this survey have access to their own internet, and another 5-7% go off to the library and the like. So that's not a bad process, and we write letters to people saying that it's all there up on the internet, and contact us if you need to. Look, I won't take up any more time now, but yeah, thanks for your support. Cheers.